Sabaody broke him, the Amazon tested him, and for everything he lost, Impel Down made him earn it back. By the time Luffy got to Marineford, he was a man with one mission and nothing else to lose. Immediately after finishing Thriller Bark, I saw that the next saga was twice as long as some of the best arcs I've seen, and it was titled Summit War. I had no clue what to possibly expect. Who could be fighting who and for what? And oh man, here we go. Anime war arcs easily can get to feeling convoluted and drawn out. But turns out, I had nothing to worry about in Marineford. Every story, every arc of this saga had a purpose, especially for developing the most important character to the show, and maybe the most important character of the One Piece universe. When I was watching this scene for the first time, there was a part of me that expected Luffy to go Super Saiyan, or awaken the Tail Beast, or some other demon-like entity inside of him. And not that anything's wrong with that stuff, it's just that's what I've almost come to expect when watching shonen. But Oda takes a different approach to this crash out. He leaves Luffy all alone to deal with the consequences of his actions. All alone. They literally send him to prison, all in preparation for him to lead a wildcard third-party faction in an all-out One Piece World War. Then he loses, and he's forced to reconcile with how short he comes up on the measuring stick of power. And if he does not improve physically and mentally, that puts everybody around him in grave danger. Luffy had so many life lessons to learn that he needed 2 different wise old men and a wise old fish man to bring him through. Luffy had no navigator to tell you when storms are coming, no noble swordsman to teach you how to be a captain in tough times, no doctor to patch you up, or even a comedic relief best friend. This whole Summit War was a character arc designed as a war arc. It was Luffy's freelance chaotic ambition that got the Straw Hats into this mess, that got himself into this mess. And this was a coming of age story forced onto Luffy by Luffy. I mean, kinda literally. He failed the main mission and then accepted a side quest that dropped him in the middle of a war. And trust me, not too many MCs get character arcs like this in anime. And trust me again, there's also no place like this anywhere else. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bread Show, a place where we give our anime and gaming opinions while doing a little bit of animated and gaming ourselves. Marineford was amazing, so I knew that my Marineford One Piece video needed some extra time and attention. I questioned myself on whether I should separate the Impel Down video from the Summit War video, but then I quickly realized that everything started in Impel Down was finished in Marineford, and it all wraps up and comes together nicely. And I'm about to show you how. I can see a lot of y'all are not subscribed, but hopefully by the end of this video, I can convince you to hit that subscribe button and leave a like on the channel. It really helps the channel out a lot. And also leave a comment because y'all are my One Piece community. This video is split into 3 major sections: the build up to the war, how everything led to this explosive clash, Marineford's blaze of glory, the breaking down of the chaos to these legendary moments, and stick to the end for my post-war mystery questions that gotta be answered at some point. And Marineford turned everything up, so I can't take my eyes off it now. Let's get straight into this with a 60-second summary. Luffy and the Straw Hats arrive at Sabaody Archipelago and are completely overwhelmed by Warlord Kuma, who scatters them across the world, leaving Luffy alone. Luffy lands on Amazon Lily, where he learns that Ace is set for execution at Marineford. Desperate to save his brother, he sneaks into Impel Down, reunites with old enemies like Crocodile and Buggy, and recruits powerful allies, including Jinbei and Ivankov. Despite everything, he fails to save Ace in time and rushes to Marineford. Coincidentally, at Marineford, the biggest war in history erupts between Whitebeard's forces and the Marines. Luffy fights alongside Whitebeard to free Ace, but just as they're escaping, Admiral Akainu kills Ace in front of Luffy. Whitebeard dies standing up, acknowledging the fact that the One Piece is real. Luffy is saved by Law, who just happens to be a doctor, and he has to come to grips with the fact that he needs to get stronger and reunite with his crew. Jinbei helps him grieve, and Rayleigh trains him and teaches him hockey over the 2-year gap. I love Dragon Ball. I say it all the time. It's my 2nd favorite anime ever. Look, I even bought the manga that I already read. With that being said, you can make the argument that the existence of Super Saiyan dampens the need for a true character arc for the same protagonist. And that goes for any anime power-up, really. I'm just using Dragon Ball because it's the biggest example. Usually, the hero comes from a tragic past and then is built up after a dramatic moment, and then boom. I mean, thinking about it for real, Goku's one and only character arc might have been losing the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai to Master Roshi, where he learns that no matter how strong you get, there's always somebody out there stronger than you to train for. And then Dragon Ball kind of ran with that for nearly half a century. But here's a situation that's unique to One Piece. The MC is gonna get 3.5 consecutive arcs, while the other characters that have been built up for the last, I don't know, few hundred episodes are gonna share 6.5 episodes total over the whole Summit War arc. Anytime a character of this magnitude is separated so severely, it's a big deal and an obvious message that you got some growing up to do, while all of the story's focus is on you. And coincidentally, we see that being a rubber man is not Luffy's only superpower. Marineford starts off on Go. Ace is Goldie Roger's kid, and we're gonna murder him on live TV to make an example out of him for all you pirates out there in the middle of the Great Pirate Era. And Whitebeard, the Great Pirate, can't do shit about it. But the only reason why we can get a high stakes moment like that is because the previous few arcs tee it up to be on action off rip. Before we get to how amazing Marineford was, let's touch on the pre-war journey. Cause yeah, we can't forget that this whole Summit War saving his brother thing is really a Luffy side quest to what's really going on in his life personally. Sabaody Archipelago broke him. Sabaody was a total tone shift for the series. Nothing could have prepared me for what was going to happen. Nothing about it. I mean, everything happened so quickly. Sabaody is a really short arc for One Piece, but so much happened. After watching hundreds of episodes of One Piece, it's kind of easy to get into a lull watching the show. And that's what Sabaody wants you to think. That's what Sabaody Archipelago arc is for. You think it's about to be human slaves and human trafficking and why that's wrong and stuff. And then they flip everything on your head. But the literally swift tone shift in Sabaody, it perfectly symbolizes the tone switch that's about to come for the rest of the series. Permadeaths are coming up. Lifelong scars are going to be formed in this saga. I truly believe that Sabaody's whole purpose was to show us that we're not watching the same old One Piece no more. So yeah, go ahead and fool around with saving Kami from a random biker gang before Luffy needed the isolation for all of this to really set in. Let's be real. This message was not gonna reach him the same if he was surrounded by the Straw Hat crew. It's in these pre-Marineford arcs where Luffy is getting broke down and built up into a whole new character, a whole new leader, and it was necessary. And conveniently, it comes after Thriller Bark, where Luffy takes a backstage for all the rest of the Straw Hats to shine. And now it's Luffy's turn. It was so important that Oda did all of this before the Summit War, because Marineford took a collective of everything he learned in his journey up to this point, which was symbolized by all the Alabasta callbacks. Now I'm watching Fishman Island arc right now, so I'm not too far into the time skip, but I genuinely believe that these events are gonna shape Luffy for the rest of the show, and I'm already seeing the results of that. He's in the big leagues now, for real. Just as a fan, as somebody in the One Piece community, I think I can say that now. This arc is the arc where I couldn't take my eyes off the show. Watching Luffy crash out at the end of Sabaody after he lost all his guys, that can make a grown man cry. Sad Binks Brew hits so different when you're watching the flashbacks of everybody you thought just died. And it seems like the repercussions of the Straw Hats' notoriety is finally catching up to him. Amazon Lily tested him. For the first time, Luffy had no crew, no allies, just himself and the weight of his failures. Luffy had always been the one to lift other people up, but now he's the one that's lost. Amazon Lily showed a different side of Luffy. Even after his biggest loss, after his biggest failure up to that point, he was still fearless, he was still jovial, he was still determined, which I think shows a lot of growth, because after the fight with Usopp in Water 7, Luffy did not crack a smile for the next few episodes. And now he's back on the up and up, hopeful as ever. He wasn't gonna just sit and grieve. He ain't no time for that. Ace was in danger, and no matter how down he felt, he had to keep going. And on the other hand, trust his crewmates were all right. So even though Luffy came up short in the previous dilemma and a future dilemma, this test showed that he has grown since the beginning of the series. Impelled down made him get it back in blood for real. Like literally. I thought it was interesting that Impel Down takes you so many places, literally and figuratively. And there was a lot of symbolism to do that. Yeah, you literally go a lot of different places like frozen tundras, deserts, or just a regular prison, or even hot furnaces and jail cells. But you also go so many different places in the story. You get dragon lore, you get the pre-war setup, and again, you get a lot of Alabasta callbacks. Side note though, if I am remembering correctly, Arlong was sent to Impel Down. They went all up and down that prison and didn't encounter him once. Maybe because he's a fish man, he has to go to a secret part of the prison or different, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure Arlong went to Impel Down. If Sabaody shattered his illusions of the strength and power he had, Impel Down made him earn it back. Luffy had always been reckless, but Impel Down forced him to encounter something new for him. Immediate consequences. And ironically, he's in the world's best correctional facility. Every drop of poison, every fight, every sacrifice pushed him to the edge, and over the edge in many cases. I mean, let's be honest. But Impel Down is where his most important quality shined. He literally made a makeshift group of pirates, collectively worth hundreds of millions of berries. And he assembled this group off of aura alone. And he must have had a lot of aura because this was a rare occasion where somebody was making sacrifices for him. Bon Clay sacrificed his life for Luffy twice. And I think there were a lot of parallels, a lot of lines to connect with how Luffy sacrificed years off his life twice for the person he was trying to save. Despite his suffering, despite being inches from death, he inspired the people around him. His strength wasn't just in his devil fruit powers, even though his devil fruit powers are pretty tough. It was always in his ability to bring people together. Also, another side note, Buggy's devil fruit power is actually pretty tough. Like, I don't know why Buggy is just comedic relief in the show. He has the resume for something greater. Marineford is hands down the best war arc I've ever seen in anime, and I'm about to break down the 10,000 storylines that changed One Piece forever, and more importantly, left an audience more than satisfied at a 500 episode journey. So now we're about to get to Marineford, but before that, I have a lot of questions, not about Buggy. How can you have a war arc in a show that doesn't kill people no matter what? Like, nobody ever dies. Igaram got blown up in Alabasta and lived. Pell lived in Alabasta. Gonfall lived in Skypiea. The slave in Sabaody that had a grenade attached to his neck lived. Hachi in the Sabaody auction house. They definitely gave him a scene that made him seem like he was gonna die, and he lived. When I found out that I was gonna head into a war arc, I saw this as one of the big conflicts in the story. Nobody ever dies, but you're entering a war. An unstoppable force meets an immovable object. And spoiler alert, the unstoppable force won. The second biggest conflict I saw going into this war was the conflict of interest. If the objective of the world government is to beat Whitebeard, then it puts him in a unique spot where pirates outside of the Seven Warlords, or including the Seven Warlords, can work with the government for the sole reason of not liking Whitebeard, and then vice versa. And I saw a lot of alliance issues and conflicts of interest issues in this upcoming war. Boa teach Luffy. This is like the part in Captain America Civil War where each side, Iron Man and Captain America, are recruiting as many people as possible to fight for their cause. But then when it comes down to the actual fighting, you know that Spider-Man and Captain America have no reason to be beefing with each other. But in this case, they're all pirates, and everybody should know that pirates are secretly, obviously, out for themselves and only themselves. Even the thought of the world government depending on notorious pirates seemed pretty ridiculous to me. Mihawks and Shanks are cool with each other, and Shanks is cool with Buggy, Ace, and Whitebeard. Jinbei was on his way to losing his title. Why is Moria even a warlord still? He's proven himself incompetent. Everyone knows that Blackbeard is a chaotic person only looking out for himself. That it doesn't take a psychologist to figure that out. He infiltrated Impel Down unprovoked. He didn't even know that there was a previous infiltration going on. He was just gonna bust the door down regardless. Boa Hancock was BSing on even showing up. Even Kuma, the RoboCop cyborg, disobeyed orders on Sabaody. And Doflamingo looks like a maniac, even more so than Blackbeard. They have and had absolutely zero reason to ever trust the Seven Warlords of the Sea. Turns out, I was super wrong about the nobody dying thing, but pretty much hit it on the head with the mixed alliances thing. I always thought it was suspicious how one rogue pirate's decision for revenge on another pirate that never interacted with the world government at all could start a war. But 15 seconds into this arc, I found out why. Why Ace was so coveted. Why the government went so hard for the Straw Hats on Sabaody and left behind Kid and Law. Marineford started off on action, but ended up doubling down on the pain that was already lingering from Sabaody. Losing Ace right after losing his crew made it very clear. Luffy, as you are, you cannot protect yourself and you cannot protect anyone else. As a matter of fact, look back on it with 2020 vision, it's a good thing that the Straw Hats weren't there because it could have been worse. RIP Chopper for sure. Luffy was introduced to the power scaling that the One Piece audience and fans have known all too well. Maturity and self-awareness was forced onto Luffy now. No more naive, carefree person haphazardly and blindly leading his rookie crew into the most nefarious seas in the world. And let's be honest, Reckless was Luffy's middle name. Monkey D. Luffy should be Monkey Daring Luffy. D is for daring. Gear 2 was damaging his body. Even getting to the war, he set sail for a place he couldn't open the door for. He took 10 years off his life twice in what ended up being a losing effort. Even his own brother was a proven hothead, and that's what got him killed. Going after Teach what he wasn't asked to, then getting hot at Akaino for dissing Whitebeard. After seeing experienced fighters like Whitebeard or even the Ice Admiral. Why am I forgetting his name? After seeing Whitebeard and the Admirals, it was obvious that Luffy had to change. Being a rubber man is cool and all, but you're competing with magma, ice, power absorption, and earthquakes. Like, that's the competition you're going up against. So the purpose of Luffy's character arc, the full circle moment, is not getting stronger for himself, but getting stronger for the people around him, for the people he has left. That's why I feel like it was so easy for him to spend 2 years away from his crew when the original mission was to get back to them. By finding himself onto Marineford, he was able to see firsthand the best pirates in the world and the Marines go at it, self-evaluate himself, self-evaluate his crew, and then be like, you know what, y'all? Let's think about this real quick before we just start charging on, which is huge character development. Marineford was Luffy's first real failure, and that's okay, even if it takes years to recover from this because it's gonna make him and the Straw Hats better. After Luffy and Jinbei were coping with the loss and recovering on Amazon Lily, the takeaway from that scene was, it was supposed to be, you still have something left in reference to the Straw Hats. The line that stuck out to me was, King of the Pirates, what was I thinking? That was huge. That was the realest thing I've heard in this anime. Even Luffy, the symbol of not giving up on your dreams in real life and in the fictional universe, experienced self-doubt after a loss like that. He doesn't really spend much time doubting his dream. He doesn't really spend so much time on the King of the Pirates, what was I thinking? But that quick little line, that terse line, made Luffy human. We all got dreams that we trying to chase. I know for sure that I do. But after a setback like that, it's only human nature to doubt yourself. And that's one of the realest things acknowledged by Oda, I feel personally. On the flip side of this loss was obviously a quote-unquote win. And that's what I want to spend some time talking about. I will say this loudly for the people in the back. The Marines are not as righteous as they make it seem. They covered and protected the celestial dragons who were slave owners. They took pride in torturing prisoners in Impel Down. They nearly destroyed Sabaody to get one group of pirates, using Ace and his public execution as a political tool and scare tactic, manipulating Squad to stab his own captain, and declaring false victory over the pirates when really in all reality, pirates are more rampant than ever and you just lied to a whole bunch of people that let their guard down. So hopefully my hope is that there will be an arc covering the fact that the Marines aren't as righteous as they make it out to be. Not to say that they are going to get their comeuppance, but eventually they should get their comeuppance. Whitebeard and Luffy would have had an interesting relationship because you could see that Whitebeard internally already knew that Goldie Roger's successor wasn't Ace, but rather Luffy. He still wanted to save Ace, but after realizing that Ace wasn't going to be around for too much longer, kind of gave that title to Luffy. But seeing the Whitebeard alliance backing Luffy going forward is going to be very interesting. And one feeling that I got after watching Marineford and watching its conclusion is, how is a rubber man gonna compete with some of these OP Logia fruit powers that I've seen? And also post the war arc was Luffy's backstory, and not to say it was bad, it was good, but it was a steep trail off from the action that we got in Marineford. It did make Ace feel more human because Ace, this whole time, I've liked his character, and everything, but ever since he's been incarcerated, Ace has felt like more of an object. Ace has kind of felt like a holy grail to me personally. Like, yeah, he had character, but I think Ace's best scenes were before he was incarcerated, and now he was just like an object to claim that you won. So personally, I didn't think much of Ace. I like this character, but like I didn't think of much of his impact on the story character-wise. Kuma though might be my favorite warlord. Every time you see Kuma, whether it's in the war or on Sabaody, it's straight action cinema. The only thing I don't like is that he doesn't show up ever for a fair scrap. Every time Kuma has come up on the Straw Hats, somebody else was fighting them and they're weak. But it seemed like he was giving them mercy. Also, I still don't fully understand his power. Something tells me I never will. But I do want to know the real Kuma. And I also want to know more about Ivankov and how she knows everybody. And since we asking questions now, I love Rayleigh's experience in helping the Straw Hats and everything. But why does Rayleigh care so much about the Straw Hats? He fought an admiral on their behalf, which I think is pretty wild considering the circumstances. That was the first favor. The second favor was, yes, letting everyone meet up back at his bar. The third favor was spending 2 years or a year and a half training Luffy when he barely knows him. Also, big shout out to Bon Clay, one of the realists in the show. Again, I don't know why he's so attached to Luffy. He sacrificed his life twice for him. This kind of goes beyond just being a carefree person that met Luffy and became friends with him. But I am convinced we're gonna see Bon Clay again. I don't know how, but I'm convinced we're gonna see Bon Clay again. Now on to Jinbei. Not gonna lie, y'all, Crunchyroll kind of spoiled this for me a little bit. Jinbei is on the front cover of the anime when I go to click on it on the anime watching service that I use, and he's standing alongside the Straw Hat, so I know he eventually becomes a Straw Hat. And I'm watching Fishman Island arc now, and he's looking for Jinbei, so I'm assuming that he's gonna ask him to be a part of his crew. Another thing I noticed is that Jinbei has the little mark on his chest, so he's gonna have some connection to Hachi and Boa Hancock. Even though Boa Hancock went down to impel down and was face to face talking to Ace, Jinbei was right there, and there wasn't an interaction there at all. And then we find out that Rayleigh is the one that saved their lives. So, and we all know that before someone can really, truly become a Straw Hat, i.e. Brooke and Robin, they have to have a goal revelation. They have to have a giant character arc dedicated towards them. And we just haven't got that yet for Jinbei, which I'm assuming is coming up pretty fast. So yeah, I expect a lot from Jinbei coming up. Crocodile is free Crocodile. What the hell is Crocodile's past, and how does Ivankov know this guy too? Everyone in the show seems to have a crazy connection to one of 3 people, if not more. Dragon, Goldie Roger, and Whitebeard. And then again, even though we got a lot of lore on Dragon, there's not really much to say about him. I feel like we still don't have enough to connect any dots right now. The only dot we can connect is that Ace and Luffy's don't have the same dad or mom. They were just blood brothers more than blood brothers. But this was an absolutely stunning introduction to the new world, and I'm excited to watch more. I've been watching this show like crazy, and the pace has been ridiculous. And to think I'm not even halfway yet. But yeah, this anime, this show is ridiculous. And because of its length, it could do so many unique things. They're entering into the new world, and now I know that there's 1100 episodes or something like that, but they're entering into the new world, and we're getting a fresh new start to the series 500 episodes in. We got a time skip 500 episodes in. I already know that this is about to get wild. And if you're still watching, hopefully I convince you to subscribe to the channel, especially if you're a One Piece fan, because I got a lot more One Piece coming for y'all. Please leave a like, please leave a comment. It really helps the channel out a lot. And to be honest with you, I don't know what arc is coming up next. I don't know if it's Dressrosa, Fishman Island arc. I might not make a video about that. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But the good news is we're really making our way through this series. And making these videos is forcing me to really get in deep into it. And I really like that. One Piece might be sneaking into my top 5 anime ever. And I love experiencing all these new things with y'all. But yeah, spread love, give inspiration in all you do. Be positive. Praying for God's blessings on all of y'all. Spread positivity. Think about somebody else today. And peace out.
Welcome to the Crash Show. Take 2.